Okay, so I'm looking back on kind of like the podcast's episodes, kind of like I pulled it up on our Apple Podcast page, and I noticed like, hey, we have 32 reviews. That's cool. We always like more. We have about 125 episodes, and I think this will be like our first kind of direct sequel. Because I think looking back at episode, I believe it was 54. It was a solo episode, I want to say. It was right before you came on and joined.
Yeah, it was shortly before I joined in. Yeah, you were doing, you did a couple episodes by yourself in there, and this was one of them, and it was kind of right in the follow-up to a book coming out, which was pretty interesting. I never had a chance to read it, but yeah, we thought it would be fun to kind of go back and revisit it. And like you said, the first kind of sequel podcast episode for us. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was actually episode 57, KOTOR, I Love You. And I kind of reviewed Amy Raquel's book, Star Wars, I Love You, I Know, Lessons in Love and Friendship. And then I was like, oh, this would be kind of a fun way to kind of talk about like love, friendship, work colleagues, all the rest, you know, in KOTOR, and kind of just like talk about the lessons learned from that game, kind of in the style of like Star Wars, I Love You, I Know. So
yeah,
we're kind of like gonna just like, this is kind of like if you had if you're taking a course in college, this is when the professor would be out of town and like quickly had to get some like TA to fill in. So this is kind of that lesson. It's kind of out of order. And like with KOTOR 2, like maybe for this episode, we're just going to say like full spoilers for KOTOR 2, you know, but like maybe in the next few episodes, we'll be like, no, we're going to like pretend like no one knows what happens, you know, but yeah, so this will be called Star Wars KOTOR 2. I Love You, and then Apathy is Death, or is there is there a better one we could say?
No, I think yeah, maybe it's KOTOR 2, I Love You, Love Influence Gained, and Love Influence Lost. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
I like that. I mean, honestly, like, I mean, we kind of joke about like doing a Kreia Icecapade, but like, maybe it's like a Kreia like hip hop album, and it's like influence lost, influence gained. Yeah, my mind is just going a lot of different places. But yeah,
that's right. When we start talking about Kreia, all possibilities are good possibilities, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the first sequel, I think, like Star Wars KOTOR 2, I Love You, Influence Lost, Lessons in Love and Friendship, the unofficial fan version.
Yeah.
So I think we could start with like, I think like the most like obvious relationship in KOTOR 2. It's not a romance, it's the exiling Kreia. Like, what is the lesson you kind of learned from that?
Then I am your only hope, as you are mine. We are a sad pair, you and I, to defend the galaxy against such a thing.
I don't know. I wouldn't classify it as a friendship. I would classify it probably as like a mentorship. But like the teacher is like a really tough teacher. But you kind of admire them for that, right? Like they're always kind of, you know, forcing you to rise up and do your best, and you're always trying to gain their favor, quite literally, in the game. So on one hand, it's good because it makes you explore yourself and your thoughts and that sort of thing. So on the other hand, it might be construed as a little bit toxic, and that's possible, and certainly as the game goes. But yeah, I think it's kind of like this weird mentorship, the relationship that they have. And Kreia is kind of teaching you about yourself and about how you fit into the galaxy, and sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's not so good. But what do you think? What do you think about their relationship? How do you see those two playing off of each other in KOTOR 2?
Yeah, I guess it's not really a friendship. It's more of a mentorship relationship. I guess like the lesson I get, I mean, it's kind of hard. KOTOR and KOTOR 2 are very different experiences, like we've said. Like KOTOR, it's just like a fun hero's journey quest, and I think like there's a lot more friendship, work colleagues, and all that. And then you kind of said like KOTOR 2 is a little bit more of like the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, you know?
Yeah, because you have the Jedi Exile character, and you're bringing in this cast of characters. And like you said, like KOTOR is much more of like a friendship group almost. They're going on this road trip adventure together, and after they take down the Star Forge, like if Canderous has to like move furniture, like he could call any one of the Ebon Hawk crew to come and give him a hand with it. I don't think that's the same for the KOTOR 2 cast, because everyone has their own kind of angle that they're pursuing, and they're all trying to kind of win the favor of this Jedi Exile character, and some of it's kind of through friendship and admiration, but some of it's a little bit more nefarious, where they're just viewing the Exile as kind of this powerful kind of rising star in the galaxy, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, I mean that is actually a really cool motif for like a reality dating show, even though I like don't watch them. Like if it was like a sci-fi twist where like everyone's drawn to her, like, so it kind of makes sense, because like I mean sometimes if like my cousins and their friends like are watching one of those shows, I forget which one is which, like in the background I'm like, why do they want to be with this like guy who like
right, sure, yeah,
is just like a kind of has no personality, and just like it's just like tall brunette, like they always kind of get like the same people, recycle them. I'm sorry if anyone out there is actually like a bachelor or bachelorette as seen on those shows, like
as seen on TV. Yeah right.
Yeah, but like I'm kind of just like, it would kind of make sense from like a Star Wars perspective. It's like they're actually literally drawn to her because like she's a wound in the Force, Maybe that's what Disney Plus needs, like around Valentine's Day. So. Oh
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what makes it compelling, because you have this cast of characters that's thrown on board the Ebon Hawk with kind of it's kind of the same like goal, or the ends are justifying the means, so to speak, because they're all kind of going about this resolution for their own sort of wants and needs and desires. But then you also have kind of this twist where a lot of the the characters are really doing it because they want to be close to the Exile character.
Yeah, so it's an interesting, like, not as many like work buddy friendships, like I kind of noticed like I missed like the Mission and Big Z relationship in this one, because like it's kind of just like they all hate each other and they're competing like for the Exile's friendship or romantic interests, and I'm like, can't we just like be cool, yo? But
yeah,
they were not cool, but yeah, the Exile and Kreia, it's kind of more of like a mentorship, like you said, and it's really a relationship that like goes through everything, like there are some high highs and low lows, mostly like ending on the lows where she starts Treya, but I guess the lesson I got is like you can listen and learn from someone, and you don't have to take everything someone says to you as like the ultimate truth, but you can learn from someone, and like if things change, you can take the good lessons and then just kind of leave it in the past and move forward. But yeah, Kreia, it's like she's intense. Like she's like, I would have like killed the galaxy to preserve you, and like she's like, I love you, Exile, like, and it's like, ooh,
Yeah, she's kind of overbearing in that sense. You spend a large part of the game as you're going through the story, with Kreia and the exile characters ahead. They have like this force bond. And a large part of the story is the exile being like, can you get this lady out of my head? Because, she's full of half good ideas and half bad ideas. And I don't know which is which. And it's kind of messing with me and, not giving me, the path that's best. I don't know which way to go. So yeah, but yeah, it's an interesting dynamic because like we said, it's a mentorship. It's not necessarily a friendship, but there's some weird bond through the force that they both share. And it's kind of inescapable in a way.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they kind of have a force bond like on par with like Revan and Bastila, but like it's not romantic. So like it doesn't mean like you're just gonna fall in love if you're force bonded to someone, So
right,
yeah. The Exile and Atten. What do you kind of learn from that relationship?
I wanted no more of Jedi or Dark Jedi or the Force. I just wanted to be left alone.
And then I met you on Paragus.
Yeah, I think the Atten's character is pretty interesting in a sense because he was like a Sith assassin or something. So he has, these force sensitivities and he has kind of this past and history with, the Jedi Order and the way that he views them. But, he's so drawn to the Exile character. I guess I should preface this. When I play KOTOR 2, I've only ever played it as a female Exile. I've never played it through as a male. So that's kind of the viewpoint that I'm coming from when I do that. But yeah, she kind of turns Atten on his head and his beliefs and the way he feels about the Jedi, about the Jedi Order, and things like that. So I guess if I was kind of looking at their relationship, I don't know. I would think it's almost like a kind of longing and self-reflection, maybe that Atten's taking. Maybe that's giving Atten too much credit. That's entirely possible too. But yeah, I think it's kind of just a desire, at least coming from him to the Exile, and really kind of challenging the paradigm in which he sees the Sith and the Jedi within the galaxy.
Yeah. I mean, I think I first played KOTOR 2 as a male Exile, and then it was canonically female. I'm like, okay, cool. I think, like, with KOTOR 2, it's not as a romantic game. It's not as emphasized, and I think, like, originally there was going to be a KOTOR 3 with, like, kind of more of a follow-through on the romance in that one, but it didn't happen. So I wasn't the biggest fan of Atten and the Exile, but a lot of people do like that relationship, and that's valid. I just kind of am like, the older I get, I'm like, oh, Atten's kind of like gross in some ways, but I'm like, maybe there's a lesson to learn here. Like, it can be a cute, like, Beauty and the Beast relationship. Like, I fully trust like writers and everything to be able to like make it a viable romantic option. But like, I think the key is like Atten has a whole lot of self-hatred, and like, I think he wants to feel and experience love. And I think he could love the Exile, but I think the key is to move forward with confidence and be respectful and not just flirt with like everyone indiscriminately, just kind of start with like a friendship or something. That's what I would say.
I just recently finished playing a playthrough of KOTOR 2, and that was kind of my takeaway. He's not written the best, he's written like a character from 2005, which is what he is. But I think that his story is super interesting, and I think that a kind of modernized version of Atten and that relationship would be super interesting to dive kind of into the mental state of where they are and, kind of what is attracting him to the exile and making him change the way that he's seeing things. I think that would be interesting. And I actually don't think it would be that difficult to do in a more modernized telling of a KOTOR 2 story.
Yeah. And we'll see if that happens. Like, I'd love a remake, or if it's a Disney Plus show, especially if it's like a dating show, that would be cool.
That's right. Yeah.
So what do you think of the exile in Beodur? Like, what do you think the lesson is there?
General, is there a reason you don't carry a lightsaber anymore? Whatever the reason, you should put it behind you. That's not your lightsaber anymore. That belonged to someone who served Revan in the wars, not the person you are now. You could build another one if you wanted to, but you know that.
I think that the exile in Beodur is probably the closest relationship in KOTOR 2 that we had to the relationships in KOTOR 1, because they knew each other previously. He has a great admiration for her and kind of her warring mind, so to speak. He's very intelligent and thoughtful. So I see it as like a relationship of like mutual respect, kind of like a really good, like work colleague, confidant sort of a thing. That's how I see their kind of relationship, Beodur and the exile. But what about you? What do you think about Beodur here as it relates to our Jedi exile?
Yeah, I think it really is the closest thing to a friendship that KOTOR 2 has. And part of me is kind of like, I do like understand the importance of like friendships, but I'm like, why couldn't Beodur have been a romantic option? Because I think it kind of makes sense. And I think the moral is friends who commit war crimes together stay together. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's just like friends, like you can overcome like things from your past together or separately. Like,
right.
You can work through things, you can work through guilt. The key is just like the bond, the friendship, and that's what I would say. I kind of saw the lesson as.
Yeah, like you said, they have kind of this shared trauma and experience together, and they're able to move past it. And that's reflective of a lot of life. Maybe not in the in the Malachor vibe kind of trauma, but I mean, you have your college friends that you do certain things with, and then you kind of grow up and you grow apart, and then you get reconnected, and you have kind of these shared memories that string throughout your lives. And that's kind of how I see the exile in Beodur.
Yeah. And then we have the exile in Visas Mar. And you're welcome to kind of tackle this from the male exile perspective and female.
The feelings I have for you are because of what I see, what I hear in your voice. All that tells me you're a natural leader. I would die for you. When I tell you my life for yours, it is my choice. And if there is an ending between us where my sacrifice can save you, it will be because it is my desire, not your will. I follow because I believe in you. I would die for you because I believe in you. And where they look at you and see the death of the Force, I look at you and see hope for all life.
Yeah, so you have Visas Mar, who I don't really take much away from the relationship in terms of the female exile. I guess it's I don't know. Visas is willing to kind of trade allegiances and follow you into battle, which is a sign of a lot of respect and things. I'm not as familiar with the kind of the more romantic male exile to Visas Mar, so maybe I'll let you speak on that. I think in terms of her relationship with her, I think it's just very telling how kind of powerful and how much respect the Jedi exile had, really on both sides of the coin there, between the Jedi and someone like Visas Mar, who was a Sith. Yeah, that she's just willing to kind of give that up and go on this quest to defeat her former masters. I think is really kind of telling, and in a way, I mean that's kind of the benchmark for a really good relationship, I think. So But what about you? Do you have any sort of insight to kind of the male exile perspective through playing the game or learning about it?
I actually think the male exile in Visas Mar was the best written relationship in KOTOR 2 out of the options. There was, like, for female exile, your options are Atten and Mikal, the disciple, and then male exile, it's Visas Mar and the handmaiden, aka Brianna. And I just thought, like, it was kind of a beautiful relationship, male exile. Like, Visas is a Miraluka. She can't see, and she kind of keeps, like, her part of her face hidden, you know, and, like, they can only, like, see each other through the Force, and, like, if you kind of progress the relationship, you can kind of see each other that way. And I'm like, oh, that's just so beautiful. Like, the beauty that you, like, might not, like, see in many different senses, like, at first, but, like, it's kind of like beneath things, and it's like, oh, that's beautiful. And honestly, like, if they made KOTOR 2 today, like, I could, like, if they were to be like, oh, Visas could also be romanced as a female exile, like, I would be like, yep, that seems pretty natural, you know. But
yeah, you get a little bit of that kind of with Mira. If you're the female exile, there's still, I guess, romantically inclined dialogue options there, but she's not a true sort of love interest. But there are some threads of that going through the story there. If you're the female exile, I guess.
Yeah, Mira shuts down male exile, and I'm like, huh, okay. Like, I don't think they were allowed to be very explicit, but I'm like, we can read between the lines there, I think.
That's right.
Yeah, but with the female exile in Visas Mar, it just kind of seems obvious that, like, Darth Nihilus really did a number on Visas. She's very passive, very scared. It seems like she's, like, craving validation, and when the exile spares her, I think she quickly kind of has a change of heart. I don't think she was ever really truly evil. I think she was just kind of, like, in a bad situation, and kind of, like, being abused, like, by the dark side and Darth Nihilus. But, like, it kind of helps me believe, like, that relationship, like, in second chances, and, like, people who are hurt, like, they can move forward and kind of find a new, better purpose, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's kind of telling too as you go through the story, the way that Kreia talks about Visas Mar. It's almost like she feels very, very threatened by her presence there, and I think that's kind of telling as well. You know, about the relationship of Visas Mar and the Jedi exile, and you know how kind of strong their connection is.
Yeah. Are there, before we get to Mandalore and Revan, are there any kind of other relationships, like, with Revan? Like, even though Revan doesn't technically appear in person in KOTOR 2, like, a lot of his personality comes from KOTOR 2, and, like, he is very present in the dialogue.
He came to me, yes, both before and after, before Revan knew himself, and after, in the times when Revan was coming to his own and learning he was more than he had been told. At one time, Revan was my Padawan in times past, long ago.
He plays an important part kind of in the background and the lore leading up to this. And if you go into the Revan novel, it gets into more of the relationship that the Jedi exile and Revan had. I think that, you know, it would be very kind of formative for the exile and Kreia with Revan. So you have Kreia, who is Revan's teacher. You have Revan, who kind of had taken the Jedi exile under his wing. So I think you have a lot of those mentorships, and we see that kind of string all through Star Wars, how close that mentor-mentee relationship, you know, master Padawan sort of thing really is, and how influential that is on how you become as a person or a character, and the way you conduct yourself in the galaxy. So I guess kind of just the threefold there. So Kraid or Revan, and then Revan to the exile.
Yeah. It seems like, like in Harry Potter, you have like Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and it kind of seems like the exile, Revan, and Malik were kind of like that group of the Star Wars KOTOR galaxy, like, and I'm like, I don't know quite what the lesson is there. Like, maybe don't fall to the dark side. If you're going to commit war crimes, do it together.
That's right.
I don't know, but like, I guess like Revan and Malik kind of went down a really dark path, but the exile, she didn't escape unscathed, but like I think like she kind of missed becoming a Dark Lord of the Sith, so like props for her for that, and
right, yeah.
She didn't lose a jaw, and she didn't have to like have her mind wiped, so like I think like even though she's kind of going through purgatory in KOTOR too, like, right, I think she ended up, like, kind of being the best of the trio, Yeah,
she seems to kind of come out on top, and she is able to kind of go, and that really, you just mentioned it, kind of her going through purgatory, and, that's basically what she does on Korriban, right? She's going and kind of facing the demons of her past and just past in general, where she's fighting kind of the spirits of Bastila and Malik and Revan as she's going there through the tombs. So, it's definitely kind of maybe that's the relationship that we really need to talk about, is just the Jedi exile, Mitra Surik, just her relationship with herself and how she comes to understand herself through the story.
Yeah, I guess you could say she's working on herself.
That's right. She's taking some time for herself. From all that shenanigans at Malachor 5, where she's wiping out entire planets of people, but she just needs to learn about herself.
I mean, there are romantic options in this game, but like I kind of like with the Jedi exile, I could see her kind of being like a little bit of an Obi-Wan, like, even though Obi-Wan does seem to get more action than you would think, from watching the movies. But
right, yeah.
I would say, like, if she's kind of just working on herself and, like, just kind of being, like, a solo platonic Jedi, like, I'd be okay with that. I mean, I love, like, but, like, if the exile just needs to work on herself, go to Jedi therapy, like, there can be other love stories to witness, I'm sure, like
right, yeah,
T3 and the Ebon Hawk,
That's right, yeah. T3 is an integral part, of the Ebon Hawk, and I mean, these stories always tend to have some sort of love story, kind of thread running through them. But now it's not the time or the place. We're battling the ultimate evil in the galaxy and trying to figure out who we are as a person. Maybe you don't need a relationship. And with the Jedi exile, and maybe to a slightly lesser extent, Atten, it's just, I don't know, it feels very like they're kind of tacked on, like very much like they're projecting that love story onto the Jedi exile. It doesn't really kind of come through as naturally as it does, in KOTOR 1, where the characters are coming to it more organically. It just seems like we need to have a love story here. So if you're a male exile, you get these ones. If you're a female exile, you get these ones, and those are your picks. So do with that what you will. But I think maybe and maybe that's fair reflection if you're thrown into a whirlwind kind of story like this, and she just the exile needs to really focus on herself, himself, and focus on the task at hand. And kind of, even though people outside might be projecting their feelings and emotions onto you, you just need to, it's important to always remember to take care of yourself first. So
I mean, Peli Motto's motto is my motto.
That's right.
Working on herself, even though she does kind of indiscriminately flirt with a lot of people in the finale. And I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I can see her and the major domo making each other majorly happy, you know?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I just love puns, but with the Mandalore and Revan, you know, like Mandalore the Preserver is Canderous from KOTOR 1. Like, I think this is kind of a little aside from Cassia, but like I think it's the bromance that deserves to be fleshed out in a KOTOR remake. And I think it would make sense. I think some people will be mad, but they're going to get mad over anything. And I think there is a lot of subtext, a lot of text, and overt text that I'm like, you could make an argument for that. But if you kind of think about it, like everyone in KOTOR 2 is dealing with the fallout of like the Mandalorian War. And if you really think about it, like Mandalore the Preserver is leading the defeated army, and he's friends with the people that destroyed him. And I think like there is, you know, a lesson in that, like people can overcome their differences for the greater good. Like, what do you think the lesson there is?
After defeating Malik, Revan made the decision that he would travel to the unknown regions. He was searching for something. I wanted to go with him. I respected him. Knew he could use me where he was going. But Revan refused, saying that he must travel alone.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned, the Mandalorian wars, and they're in battling with the Jedi and or the Republic, and that, and you know, in KOTOR 1 we see them kind of, you know, set aside their arms and start working together, Revan and Canderous, and then after the events, Canderous goes back to lead his people, you know, and take them forward. So yeah, I think it's an important lesson, and yeah, just being able to move forward, and you know, you can find allies in the unlikeliest of places, I guess you could say. Now, one of the things we kind of learn about their relationship is just that, you know, Canderous, being a Mandalorian, had a lot of great respect for Revan because he was a great, you know, he had a great mind for war. He was a great warrior, you know, and that garners a lot of respect from Canderous, from the Mandalorian people. So they, you know, held him in kind of high esteem, even though he wasn't a Mandalorian. And I think that's kind of the outset. But one of my favorite scenes, and we haven't talked about this, we'll have to talk about it at some point, but the Revan novel, and it kind of starts off with Revan and Canderous meeting at a cantina and just having a drink. And I think that's kind of how, like, I embody their relationship in my head, I guess, is just that, you know, they've kind of been through all of this stuff together, but then, you know, at the end of the day, they can just kind of, you know, go out and have a drink and have just this mutual respect and friendship for one another. And I think that that's kind of how I see the relationship between those two.
Yeah. And I just think like Canderous and Revan are like really cool BFFs, and it would be cool to see more of that, you know?
Yeah, Canderous is the secret BFF of all the people, I think, really. Like I could see him like going to like a birthday party on Kashyyyk with Mission and Big Z. Like he shows up for the party there. You know, he's running around. He's going to hang out with Karth from time to time. I think Canderous is the secret best friend of everyone, really.
Yeah, I mean, like for some reason, I could totally foresee like kind of in the Gilmore Girls, like where Luke kind of goes to Rory's graduation from high school. And like, I could just like, for some reason, like if like Mission and Big Z like needed like a parental guardian, like Canderous would be there and he'd be crying at the graduation. Like it'd be funny.
Yeah. Great show. On a side note, Amy Sherman Palladino, who you know, wrote and created the Gilmore Girls, that's my dream pick to do a Dr. Aphra show or movie on a side note. So we can
let's make that happen. But so like with Revan and like Bastila or Karth, like kind of romantically, like whether it's a female or male Revan, I think like the lesson there is like there's a lesson in like putting others' happiness and the greater good first rather than like what you personally want. Even though, like, I kind of hate the ending that Revan and Bastila got. Like, for me, Revan and Bastila is, like, my favorite, like, Star Wars relationship, if you haven't noticed. But, and maybe I insulted, like, people's favorite relationship, like the Exile and Atten. And, like, I'm sorry if I did that, like, if that's your favorite. So, but yeah, what do you think the lesson there is?
Did he know?
No, he didn't.
There are times I fear we shall never know where he left Karth, and I cannot live not knowing the answer. Why he sought to protect us.
He asked us to stay to keep the Republic safe. It was important to him. And after meeting the Exile, I'm convinced that there are worse things to lose in the galaxy.
That's kind of a threefold thing. I mean, you have Bastila, you have Revan. They're the Force dyads. They're the ones that are meant to be together. But you can have these storylines with Karth being the romantic interest, and I think that's good. But I think that at the end of kind of their story together, Karth is in a position where he understands. He's had his life with his wife. He has the opportunity to go and reconnect with his son, and I think that relationship is probably more important to him than a relationship with a Revan or Bastila. And I think, as much as, as he loves, one or the both of them, I think that ultimately that takes a back seat, because really the real relationship for Karth is, being able to start his life over with his son and start to rebuild a little bit, in the aftermath of, all this terrible stuff that's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, it would kind of suck for Karth if female Revan was female. It's like he loses his wife and son, and then it's like he finds out the person he's been flirting with, is like the Dark Lord of the Sith previously, and then they kind of work through those issues. He finds his son, and then he's like, okay, we're kind of like establishing some roots, and then like female Revan's like, I gotta go, bye, and then like never sees her again. So I'm like, I don't know. So like in my mind, like Revan is a guy, and he's more focused on like building his relationship with his son and like being an admiral in the Republic,
Yeah,
so.
But that would make for a good reality TV love connection show. Or if you finally make your love connection, and then you find out that person, it was at one point like the ultimate evil in the galaxy. That would be pretty bad. That would be quite the twist.
And then once you resolve it, they just leave.
And then after you come to terms with that, then they just leave.
Yeah. So like I think there's no better transition to like what do you think about Mira and Hanhar? Or is it Hanhar?
I didn't kill him once. Biggest mistake ever.
Mira and Hanhar. I want to say that they have mutual respect and that they both keep trying to kill each other all the time. But they both seem very good at their jobs. So I mean, maybe you respect them for that. I don't know. I think maybe Hanhar doesn't like, because Mira doesn't want to kill people, and Hanhar very much wants to kill people. So maybe there's not that much respect there. But yeah, I don't really see this as a friendship kind of a thing. I think respectful adversaries is how I would describe their relationship.
Yeah, like spy versus spy, or yeah. I think the lesson there is just like let go. Like Hanhar, you don't need to worry about the Wookiee life debt, like, and Mira, you can just move on, and like you guys can just forget about it and move forward, and yeah, that's all you really need to know. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just a place where they both are coming in with a lot of baggage, between the life debt and then, Mira's kind of impoverished upbringing on Nar Shaddaa. And I think it's probably best that they just go their separate ways, I think.
Nar Shaddaa is wide enough for Hamilton and Burr, Like,
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the exile in McCall, like, what do you kind of see the lesson there as?
I knew at that moment that if you would no longer be a Jedi, then you must be correct. I realized I did not want to be a Jedi. Instead, I wished to follow your path.
Yeah, I think that's really just a lesson in kind of longing for McCall. He's always been kind of out on the wings, just longing for Mitra. It seems like that's something that's been going on for a long time. Probably started out as admiration, sort of like a Jedi Council crush sort of thing, potentially, that, you know, he's really kind of latched onto. And I think he basically goes on to tell you pretty much that that's the only reason he's going on this trip, is because he's basically in love with Mitra. So yeah, I think it's just kind of a very one-sided, affection driven kind of thing for those two. But what about you? Do you see something else in there that I don't take away from it? Or
the interesting thing about the exile in McCall is I think it's meant to kind of evoke like Anakin's pedestal like love for Padme, you know? Mm-hmm. And the exile and Atten, I think, is kind of meant to be like, he's Han Solo, you're Princess Leia, because of course you are, you know?
Right.
But I mean, in a remake, like, I could like be like, we can maybe work with this if like they're kind of like more equals in age and all that. Like, I do kind of like that it's a pedestal like crush. He kind of reminds me a bit of PETA from the Hunger Games, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's really good analogy. I was kind of thinking along the lines of, we've brought it up a couple times, but like Ron and Hermione, you know, kind of that relationship. But yeah, I like the PETA in the Hunger Games.
Yeah, and I think he's an interesting person because I think he's kind of like he's like a Luke Skywalker who was like growing up in Jedi Order, but then the Order left, and then it's like, okay, I guess I'll become a soldier now, you know, and I'll try to change my outfit enough that people can't guess I was a Jedi, but they're like, we know you were a Jedi, you know.
Right, yeah.
But I don't know, I think he's like kind of a good guy, you know, and like it would be cool like in a remake or remaster or reinterpretation to like if they kind of like gave McCall like more of a shot and like he didn't part his hair down the middle, you know. Yeah. And I think the lesson is like, be nice to people. You don't have to expect anything, but just be cool and be respectful, you know, and see what happens, you know.
That's right.
Yeah. We got something basic coming up. Can you guess what it is?
I have a guess as to what is basic. It's all white outfits. It is the handmaiden Brianna. So
Brianna, yeah.
I need you to study him closely. I need to know what he thinks, what he does. Become part of his group. Earn his trust. Get him to confide in you.
I will do as you ask, mistress.
Yeah, what is their relationship? So I guess that she's in charge of the handmaidens, I guess. So that's good. They follow her orders and dress the way that she tells them to. So that's something. I don't know. It's I think it's probably not the healthiest of relationships, especially as I don't know. I'm having trouble kind of categorizing this because I don't know that it's definitely not like a friendship kind of a thing. It's more of like a servant type of a thing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, in episode 121, we kind of talked about the Queen's Hope and like Padme's relationships with her handmaidens. This is not that situation. It kind of feels more like, rather than them being BFFs, like Atris like kind of just uses her handmaidens as slaves. And I'm kind of just like, and like just visually, it kind of looks like Atris is like, okay, the rules here is you wear white, your hair is white, just everything is white. Like, it's just kind of conformist.
Right.
And it's kind of like all kind of circling around what Atris wants. And I'm kind of like, maybe the lesson is like, I don't know, don't be a narcissist. Don't use people. Like,
yeah, that's right. You're gonna do exactly what I say, and sometimes I'm going to disappear into this room with all of the Sith holocrons for a while. So don't ask any questions. It'll be totally fine.
Yeah. And then the exile in Atris.
And all that has happened there will happen again, and that is why I cannot bear it, because it is Malachor 5, and because I love him.
I mean, it's kind of like with a male exile, you are kind of like, oh, Atris had a little crush on the exile before they left for the Mandalorian Wars. Like, you're kind of like, oh, I think they kind of had like maybe it was like kind of a crush thing, and she definitely kind of like felt betrayed when the male exile went off to war. And like, you kind of like get the sense that like Darth Sion kind of has a little bit of like a creepy kind of like Phantom of the Opera thing for like the female exile. I think the male exile and Atris is a little bit more well done, I would say. But like, I mean, you could make the argument like it could be there for a female exile too. Like, I am here for whatever the story wants to be, you know? But like, she doesn't get over it, and then it's like the male exile like can end up with someone that looks exactly like her in Brianna, which I think is hilarious. And it's like she changes masters basically. But I think it's kind of like Wonder Woman 1984, where the cheetah is kind of jealous, you know, of Diana Prince, you know, like wants to be her, then is her, then wants to take her off the map, like, and then like, I guess that's sort of like Atris's arc, where it's like she just like turns to the dark side because she's so extreme, and like she doesn't understand how the exile can go through what she did, but still kind of fundamentally be a good person, and everyone's drawn to her.
Yeah, I see a lot of kind of layers of like jealousy between Atris and the Jedi exile, especially as a female version of the exile. That's kind of the way that I took their relationship, was that Atris, you know, didn't like her, you know, sort of making decisions against the Jedi Council, but you know, it always seemed like it was a little bit more than that. Like Atris, you know, didn't want you know, the exile like getting ahead of her a little bit, and I think that's kind of then applied to Atris's, you know, relationship with Brianna, like you mentioned. She just kind of she takes in and takes over, and has this apprentice that, you know, looks exactly like her, basically to kind of groom someone in her own image, so to speak. But I think that I think that kind of dynamic of the relationship is interesting. Yeah, it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of like this jealousy of this up and comer. And, you know, you need to kind of knock them down a peg or two. And I think that's what Atris, you know, had tried to do. And then, you know, ultimately we see that it leads to kind of her downfall through this string of jealousy, which, as we know from the Jedi Council, jealousy, not a good thing, not a good look for Atris. And it ultimately kind of is her undoing. But yeah, I think it's kind of this relationship of like a jealous admiration, I guess, maybe, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think it used to come from a place of actual admiration, but then, like, Atris kind of broke. Like, she's like, you're, like, my friend or something, and then you went and fought in the war, even though we're not supposed to, you know? But it is interesting that you kind of say, like, Atris is jealous, because I think, like, just like in KOTOR too, like, everyone is just, like, obsessed, you know, with the exile, and it's actually kind of hilarious. Like, she's the star of the show, you know?
Yeah, it's almost, and this is just kind of in my own headcanon that I'm thinking through right now, it's almost like if Atris and Revan were kind of peers like equals, and then Revan split off to go down the path of the dark side. And when Mitra followed him, like Atris took that as an affront. Like she picked Revan over Atris, kind of in a way, as like a spurned lover sort of thing almost.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of to wrap up the basic side of the Force, male or female exile and Brianna, what do you see there? Any lessons stick out?
I see where your loyalty lies, and if you stand with her, then you cannot stand with me. She is of the Sith. She has faced battle and been found wanting. Why is it you trust her and not I? I would follow you wherever you led. I believe in what you seek.
Yeah, so let's see. So Brianna, I don't think joins the party if you're the female exile.
No.
So not much there, but I think she felt like obligated to go, I guess, in a sense with the exile. Like I never really got quite a good understanding of, the reasoning for her kind of going along. I think it was just to kind of balance out the companions a little bit, but I never really got too much out of their relationship. And like I said, it's probably just due to the fact that I've primarily just played the female exile, so I don't have a ton of interaction with her outside of when you're meeting her there on Telos. Is that where they're at? Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah. So I didn't have a lot of like interaction with that other than I guess fighting with each other on the.
Yeah.
Sans any armor.
Yeah.
Of course, because why not?
Female exile Brianna, I'm like, I think this would be a better, the exile would be a better, like, female mentor for Brianna than Atris, because she's not going to be like, you need to dye your hair the color my hair is, and you need to dress a certain way, and, like, we need basic Starbucks orders. Like, I think the exile would kind of let her do her own thing a bit,
Yeah.
But the lesson I take is that if you look at the male exile and Brianna, I think it kind of has an even bigger age gap than Bastila and Revan, which we, kind of make so much smaller. And I'm kind of just like, this probably shouldn't have made it past, several idea station checkpoint things, and I'm kind of like, maybe like the fighting in the underwear thing like never happens,
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe somewhere puts a post-it note on that page and is like, let's revisit this at the next meeting, something.
Yeah. So I don't know if you like it and we insulted it and it's like your Revan and Bastila, like let us know. Message us and like tell us what you think the lesson there is. So
yeah, definitely. But I do think you could play like a Brianna in exile, either male or female. I think you could play that as like a gained better mentor, and that would be super interesting. And you could play Brianna as kind of this damaged character that's trying to get confidence, and she has to get out from underneath of Atris to find kind of her true path and her true calling. I think that could be a really compelling story to tell.
Yeah. Should we end with Darth Treya or T3M4? So there's two more.
Let's do we'll do T3 and then we'll turn it over to the dark side to end this thing.
End on darkness. Okay.
That's right. We'll end our story of love on darkness.
Okay. T3M4 and the exile. I kind of like T3 is like the greatest, probably the greatest character in KOTOR 2, honestly. The true hero of the KOTOR saga, I think.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't know, like this is a weird lesson, but like even a droid can have a personality and you can find them cute. I don't know. And
yeah,
it's
for sure.
Like T3 is a dog, and like he's loyal to his master, whether it's Revan or the exile, and like he's just awesome. Or T3 could even be a her. I don't know. It's a droid.
Yeah.
machines. Her passion for such things defies me.
It's a droid. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, T3 is the true hero. Like the Ebonhawk crashes, and Mitra doesn't even make it to Paragus if T3 is not around to save the ship and to bring it into land. So, what sort of relationship do they have, though? That's kind of hard to say. We don't get any of the backstory, but I think that she definitely has a good like bond. She trusts T3 a lot, which I think says a lot about T3, our little droid. And that's, as as someone who loves the Star Wars droids, I really like in KOTOR 2 is that T3 gets more personality and he gets more time to shine. There's a lot of like little like missions that T3 has to go on to get stuff unlocked and systems turned on and things, and he's kind of put out there as the the only one who can really get the team moving forward. So I think that there's a lot of trust there, which I think speaks volumes for someone like your Jedi exile who wakes up with kind of no knowledge of what's happened and what's going on and what they're doing, but to entrust kind of the fate of the galaxy and the fate of the exiles life itself into T3. I think it speaks a lot for just how endearing this little droid is, and how great this little droid is, and how important they are to the story and to the exile.
Yeah. And I mean, like, T3 and HK aren't really in the Force, so like the exile is just kind of charismatic without the Force, so they're just loyal because she's a good Jedi exile, Yeah, so like you said, we're going to end on darkness. Darth, right. Traya, and the Sith triumvirate. What do you think the lesson there is?
But above these legions, there are 3 who must be stopped. As long as any one of them lives, then we, and all life, are doomed. One bathes in pain, feeds on it for sustenance. The other has ceased being a living being, so consumed by hunger that he has forgotten his own flesh. And the last is a creature of betrayals, for without such things there is no hope.
Yeah, so Darth, Traya, and the Sith triumvirate. Yeah, they have a very interesting relationship because, being the triumvirate, they're like 3 pieces of this puzzle. They complement each other and they contrast each other. It's almost like magnets, kind of pushing and pulling against one another, keeping them in line. And it's sort of 3 pieces are required for them to fulfill kind of their ultimate power, so to speak. So I think that's interesting from a dark side perspective, because we always are seeing them in pairs, Revan and Malik, and Darth Vader and Palpatine, and stuff like that. So I think it's interesting to see the 3 of them and the push and pull that they have together. It is really fascinating, and it's a really kind of fun kind of character study to go on. But what do you think about our triumvirate here?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of covered Darth Sion's kind of thing he has with the exile, and we covered kind of like Darth Nihilus kind of through Visas. But I would say like the lesson with the Sith triumvirate is like the Sith always betray one another, like power. Like when people just kind of care about like power, wealth, status. I don't know. I say status. It sounds better. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. But when people are kind of selfish, at the end of the day, like they'll turn on you, and that's what happened to Darth Traya. Like Darth Sion and Darth Nihilus kind of turned on her. Like they thought they had like a cool 3-way like triumvirate, kind of like ancient Rome going on, but like no, they turned on her, and then they kind of, I think eventually they'd probably just turn on each other, Traya, like, she was a Jedi, then she was a Sith, and then she was, like, whatever she ended up being. Like, it really kind of like just made her hate the Force, you know? And she's a character I'd love to see adapted, and like no matter what, I don't think it would be perfect, but I'm like, let's try for perfection anyways, you know? If you seek after power and riches and wealth and all that selfish pursuits, you'll be betrayed. So
yeah, for sure. And I'm right there with you in terms of, you know, getting some sort of adaptation or you know, story book, comic book, whatever the case may be. Because
the Ice Capade, Disney on Ice.
Disney on Ice. Yeah, that's right. Let's do that. But I think, and you know, we talked about it a little bit when we were talking about KOTOR, and just, you know, these characters are so rich and interesting. But still, you know, within the Star Wars fandom, it's still, you know, a fairly small percentage of people that have, you know, played these games, you know, through to their completion and know the stories of these characters. So even if it's not 100% perfect, like I'm all for getting these stories out there, so just more people can learn about them, and you know, more people can dissect them, because it's super fascinating, and I think that more people need to hear these stories. But in terms of the relationships, yeah, I mean, you nailed it on the head. It was like this kind of three-headed beast that, you know, turned on one of the heads. And I think that that's interesting. And I think that as a Sith, you're probably always expecting that to be the case. Like, I think probably all three of them suspected the other two were going to turn on them eventually. And yeah, Darth Traya was just the one that fell. And then, you know, she plays kind of this pivotal role in the Exiles path, you know, learning the lessons and all the teachings, and finding out about betrayal. And that's kind of the main, I guess, lesson she keeps trying to tell you as you're meeting up with all of these other characters, and, you know, having these relationships. So we just, you know, talked about all of these relationships, but, you know, kind of in the back of your mind is always, you know, Kreia saying that these people are going to betray you. Are you sure that's what you want to do? But I guess that's the power of relationships.
Yeah. And there's all different kinds of relationships, all different kind of lessons to learn from them in stories. And yeah, if there's any friendships or other things you think we missed in our KOTOR 2, you know, unofficial fan version of Star Wars, I love you, I apathy you, lessons in love and friendship, let us know. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Absolutely. So, yeah, definitely let us know that, and definitely go if you have the opportunity to read through Amy Rickow's book, Star Wars, I Love You. I know, Lessons in Love and Friendship. Go to that, because it's a good read. You can get it from your local bookstore, your library, and check it out, because there's some good stories in there.
Yeah, and may the apathy be with you.